Nobody truly prepares you for what happens when you move abroad. Almost when you're on, and I can't help but laugh at the fact I thought my visa was going to be the biggest challenge. There's such a huge and heavy grief that, while not always with me, often just creeps up and knocks me out of action for a day or so. A problem that you can't really share with those back home without being met with, if you're homesick, you can always come home. But how do you explain without breaking hearts that it's exactly this that you're grieving? As though part of you has died, yet simultaneously it's a part of you that you have to fight every day to keep alive. It's not my first experience moving country. I was born in the UK and moved back to Ireland when I was 7, and very quickly I had my English accent bullied out of me in school. Thing I am too mad about though, deep in my soul I feel the Celtic ancestors of my land and wear my nationality with pride, but sometimes I wonder, was it this move that planted my fear of never truly belonging anywhere? Home has started to lose its meaning. How can you call a place home if every few months you feel as though there's even less there waiting for you? I now catch myself referring to what I once called home just as Ireland. You'd think having the people that you love and care about the most in the world come to visit you would help re-establish that connection to a land that you're grieving, but Christ, the weight that comes after realising actually it's done nothing but tear you so much further away, that it's just one less thing to go back to. When geographically you live in paradise, I suppose some people just automatically assume your new life to be too, without considering the time, weight, and grief that comes with being an immigrant. While making space for the weight of these emotions, you also carry the burden of never truly belonging to this new land too. You can learn the language, the culture, adore the food, and try to be the right kind of foreigner on a land being taken over by tourism, but even if you're boule local, you're still boule.
Hi, my name is Gráinne, and almost 1 year ago I packed up my entire life and my entire business and moved across the world from Ireland to Indonesia. And I've been kind of thinking about how do I do this part of the video, and I think honestly and truthfully I just have to speak from the heart, because I feel like my whole purpose behind making this video and even the direction I want to take my online presence in as somebody who's been online for a very long time is I always want my videos or whatever I'm creating in the world to feel like a safe space and just some kind of guide on what to do when you're feeling lost. And I feel like I knew when I made the decision to emigrate and became an immigrant in a land very far away from where I was raised, I knew it was going to be a difficult journey. But I just think there's so many things that you go through that you cannot grasp or understand until you've made the journey yourself. And I also think that that journey for every single person, while there's similarities, there's so many differences. And I do see people speak about it, but maybe not in depth. And part of me feels like maybe there's kind of, you know what mothers go through when they go through childbirth and they forget all of the difficult hormones and just have the love of it all. I'm starting to think perhaps we're blindsided a little bit by the beauty that comes in emigrating and building a beautiful life for yourself that perhaps nobody in your family has done before, or none of your friends have done before. Within the beauty, they forget the struggle. And I feel like I'm definitely still within the struggle, but also very much reminded every day of the beauty and of why I made this decision. So I thought that we could speak about some of the things that you go through, just so that if you're also where I am right now, we all know that we're not alone, we're not insane, and everything is actually completely normal. Let's get into it. First thing that I want to speak about is genuine grief. And I feel like I'm so lucky because I did lose my granddad last year and I lost my nana 4 years ago. Obviously, they're grieving processes, but I've never lost anyone super immediately close to me that wasn't an elder. So I've never really experienced grief on such a big level, and I do think of course it's different, it's a different form of grief. But I think because of that level of not losing anyone so immediate to me, grief is an unfamiliar and uncomfortable emotion for me. I find it confusing, I find it difficult, I find it hard to navigate because I also find it hard to admit that I'm struggling. And then also there's the element of, you know, it's very hard to tell people that you're struggling without them thinking that you've made the wrong decision or that you're unhappy with your decision, when it's not that. And I feel like for me, what started to happen, and this has been happening since month 1, month 2, month 3, and people would say to me, are you homesick? Like, do you feel homesick? And I would try to say, like, I'm not homesick because this is my home, but I'm grieving, you know? And I think especially being from Ireland, and I'm so proud of my culture, I'm so proud of my heritage, and I yearn and long for the land of Ireland. Whenever I go on TikTok and I hear a tin whistle with some dreamy clips of Ireland, I like instantly long for that land. And I know, like, I'm a little Celtic fairy goddess, like I know that that's in my blood, and it's why I even run my brand in the way that I do, and I encourage us all to frolic and just be out in nature as much as we can. And I do think a lot of that like comes from like being Irish, being so connected to the land. And even little conversations that I've had with people here remind me of that. Like the contractor that's building the neighborhood that I currently live in one day said to me, oh my gosh, you're Irish, like, do you know the Cranberries? I was just delighted he didn't say, do you know Conor McGregor? And then he said the Cranberries, I was like, yeah, I know the Cranberries. Kind of got talking and we had a conversation, and he was saying, oh, it's really interesting, like Irish people before Catholicism were pagans. And I was like, who taught you this shit? But like, I'm into it, you know what I mean? And then I was like, yeah, and he was like, yeah, it's very similar to like Balinese, like culture and religion and blah, blah, blah. I was like, even that to me, I feel like makes so much sense as to why I have such a tie to this land, and always have done since the first time I was here 4 years ago. Like, I remember speaking with even the people that worked at the guest house that I lived in, and the conversations that we would have about like the weather or the full moon or all of these things instantly brought me back to like speaking to like an older Irish man in somewhere in Ireland about the weather. And I remember just thinking like that crossover. But bringing it back to my grief for the land, it's like I have so much grief for that. And like the Cliffs of Moher will forever be one of my favorite places on earth, and a place that makes me feel so held and safe. But also the grief that kind of comes with knowing that it's not where I belong. It's not where I'm gonna thrive. I very much think it's a small pond and I'm a big fish, and I just don't always think that being a big fish in a small pond is the best thing. I think I just have so much more to learn, especially for the type of brand that I'm running. It's so different to anything in Ireland, and not that it's better than anything that's happening in Ireland, but just the kind of things that I want to be doing don't exist in Ireland. And I think something that I've also had to really grieve is the fact that like, I think sometimes to make it in Ireland, you have to make it outside of Ireland before you make it in Ireland, which I think, I don't know, maybe that's just my experience, but that's my unfortunate reality. It's like, I listen to Irish music, I look at the land of Ireland, and I feel grief knowing that that's my home, but actually it's like not my home at all. And like when people say, oh, if things are really hard, like you can just go home. But especially, I think for me as well, I've been through so much in these past 10 months and also the 12 months before I moved here. And one of those things was my family, my childhood home that I grew up in Dublin, was sold. There's a spare room in my mom's house, but it wouldn't be my room because it would be shared with my other sister who lives in Malta. So knowing that I don't have a room to go back to, and specifically I don't have my childhood room to go back to, you know, I think so many people find comfort in knowing that their childhood room is always there. Of course, I know that's not a privilege for everyone, but I feel like for a lot of people that is a privilege that they have. Yeah, I don't have that anymore. Of course, I still have the privilege of knowing that I would never be like on the streets. Where I've got to in my life here, I have a beautiful house, like a beautiful little 2-bedroomed house. I live with my amazing boyfriend. I live with my beautiful dog. It's like, despite how difficult it's been, I've really laid the most beautiful foundations for such a beautiful life, still in the struggle of making it past the struggle, you know? I feel like the grief that comes with, first of all, knowing that your home is not your home anymore, and then also the fact that I'm learning Indonesian. I have an Indonesian boyfriend. I speak Indonesian with my neighbors. Like, I really do my best to be the best kind of foreigner that I can be. But just knowing that no matter what I do, I'm always, before somebody speaks to me and knows or realizes that I speak the language and that I'm very much committed to, you know, integrating into the culture here and doing, like, playing my part to, like, make this island not destroyed by tourism. Like, as before, like, before people realize this about you, they see you as a foreigner, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying poor me, especially because when I look at how immigrants, especially right now, are treated in Ireland, you know, and I still have my white ass privilege, you know, like, yes, not everyone is the biggest fan of boules here, but that is because we're coming here and we're just fucking destroying the place. I still have privilege, but it's also still just knowing that no matter what I do, I will still always not be able to fully call this new place my home also. I really hope that that comes across in a way that's not like, poor me, like I don't belong anywhere. It's not that. It's just like, I think there's just like a level of grief in not belonging to anywhere, but I also think there is beauty in that also, and also being able to call two places home. But just particularly right now, like, my support system is here. I feel so loved. I feel so supported. I love the culture in Indonesia that's very much like, not to make it about the Bible, but like love your neighbor vibes. Like, it's very, everyone takes care of each other. I think, again, even kind of coming from Ireland and growing up in a small village, I feel like that was very much the case when I was growing up, and I feel like maybe we've just gone too fucking capitalistic with it, that I don't really think that that exists as much in Ireland anymore. Of course, like on the west coast, but I feel like even if I ever was to go back to Ireland, the only place I could see myself living would be the west coast for a similar kind of reason. So many layers that you have to shed when it comes to literally grieving your homeland. Know that you've made the right decision, but it's also one of the hardest fucking things I've ever been through in my life. The next thing, and I feel like it still kind of falls within the category of grief, but I feel like you have to grieve so many people and also versions of yourself. People that were in your life when you were those versions of yourself. And I genuinely think one of the biggest mistakes that I made, and please learn from this if you have recently emigrated, I wish I didn't have friends and family here to visit within this first year. And I think that that's like, it's been different when there's been people that have just been here and I've met up with them for lunch or something. Like, that's been beautiful. But like, having a friend to stay with me, having my family here for almost 2 weeks, and we did all of the touristy things, especially, you know, I was in the middle of some crazy work times. Like, I just feel like that was the biggest mistake that I've made, and has like cost me relationships in my life that were really valuable to me, and now just like genuinely leave me with some of the biggest heartache that I've ever experienced in my life. And I said I was going to keep it real in this video, and honestly spent the past 2 months so filled with grief, and I was going to say rage, but I think like rage is part of grief. And I think one of the things that's really difficult within that, why I feel so much rage, is for me, again, like expecting people to have their shit together so soon after moving so far across the world, being so horrified that they don't, that it becomes a problem for you. For me, the way that has hurt me so badly, people came here and saw me going through a hard time and just made it 10 times harder, especially because it's stuff that months later, when I'm still trying to build my life, I now have to carry this added grief on top of everything. So that would be one thing that I would say is don't make the mistake of having people to see you too soon. I had just moved into a new house. Like, it was just all one after another. It's honestly been so hard. And so yeah, I think it was funny because I had a friend who actually emigrated to Ireland from somewhere else say to me that it took him like 10 years or something to have his parents visit him in Ireland. And I was like, I wish I did the same thing. It's like, I love those people so much. I just wish that I had been a little bit more smart with that, but I miss these people. I love these people. But yeah, sometimes I think the lesson I've learned from it is like, until your life is perfect, or you can at least pretend it's perfect, it's just not the right time to have people visit you. And then I think what comes with that also is people are coming to your new life. They're on holidays. And I think people, when they come to visit you, again, it's a holiday for them, and that's fine, that's fair enough. And I think they expect you to be on a holiday as well, or maybe expect more from your life, like because you live in holiday paradise, without realizing that a lot of people here are living very normal lives. I don't live in a villa with a pool. Like, I live in a small 2-bedroomed house. It's super cute. It works for me, it works for my boyfriend, it works for my dog. And so there's that element of it. But then there's also the fact that you've just upped and rooted yourself to this whole new part of the world. Everything is different. You've learned a new language, like you have a new boyfriend, you have a dog. Like, this is a completely different version of you in a completely different world to the person that they knew before you left home. That makes the whole thing really hard. Like, on top of the whole like not being on holidays, it's like, not only are you not on holidays, but this is your life and you're basically meeting this person all over again. I just wasn't prepared for that, because I was like, these are people that love me, these are like my family, my friends, you know, like of course everything's gonna be great, you know. But I think maybe I didn't take into consideration the differences in my life might affect them, and how maybe they don't want to know the new version of me. They just want the same old me that was in Ireland. You have to grieve the old versions of yourself as well, and also like maybe realize how you weren't standing up for yourself before, or that you were in like households where you couldn't, or like all these kind of things. Like, I have literally had, I don't want to say a spiritual awakening, because I think we go through multiple awakenings in our life, but I genuinely feel like I've like unlocked something within my brain that's probably gonna stick with me for like the rest of my life, and put me on this journey of like healing, but the most uncomfortable fucking healing. I think on the grief topic, I think we're gonna leave it there. I think I've gotten my point across, but I think my main point with that is that I just want you to know, if you feel like your entire world is falling apart, it literally fucking is, and it's so normal. Like, your world has completely changed and you're starting from ground zero. And you know, I even had a conversation with my friend recently, and I was speaking about my business and being like, I've been doing this for so long now, and she was like, but you haven't, you've just moved the business here. Like, the first year is year zero, and it's been about actually setting up a foundation. You know, when I think about the first 3 months that I was here, I lived with my friend, which was great and amazing, but it wasn't my own space. And then I lived with a different friend, it was also great, but it wasn't my own space and it wasn't my own house. Now I live in a house that I love so much. Is it easy? No. Like, it's the first time in my life that I've been completely 100% like responsible for making sure like I have a roof over my head. And whilst that does feel a little bit like embarrassing to have only happened at like 28 years old in my life, like, I'm still like so proud of myself, and I love this house. I'm doing it, you know, every single day that it feels like a struggle, I'm like, I'm doing it. I only moved into my house like less than 6 months ago, and even that, it's like, I've only had the office here. I haven't even got a full range of production like finished here. Like, for me, getting my brand to Barcelona, we're going to Skate Love Barcelona in September, getting there, and then once I get home, it's year one. Did you see what I did there? I called Bali home. And that's exactly my point. Once I get home to here, That's year one, and we build from there. And it's also, for me, I feel like it's such a full circle moment, because it will actually be almost exactly, I'm probably going to come back from Barcelona around the exact time that I moved here last year. Some kind of weird complete cycle, and I'm like just so ready to step into that new timeline, and I just cannot wait to get from point A to point B. I want to talk about some of the more positive things that happen when you emigrate, because I don't want this to be completely all doom and gloom. I think first of all, I live in the most beautiful place. Every single day that I feel sad, like if I just go for a bike ride, even if it's raining, like if I'm just on my bike driving around the rice fields, I feel such immense gratitude. And then if there's a sunset on top of that, it's like, oh yeah, okay. Friendships and relationships that I've built here. My best friend in the whole world that I met 4 years ago, that we kept up an online relationship with, that I stayed with when I came back here last year, that I lived with for the first 3 months that I lived here. She lives 2 minutes down the road. Anytime I have a problem, I go to her house and we talk it out. Like, I've never had that before. Like, not in my adult life have I had a friend so easily accessible, that's always just there for me, that always shows up for me, that would literally do anything for me, that would like take me through some of the hardest times in my life. I can just drive 2 minutes down the road to. Like, the immense gratitude that I have for that, next level. I'm in the most beautiful, loving, caring, supportive relationship I've ever been in my life. I love my boyfriend so much, and just even that, it's like so beautiful to experience that kind of love that I've like never experienced before also. And just again, even just to know I'm like so held and supported no matter what. There's no consequences, or like I don't owe anyone anything for this support that they give me. I'm just supported, and it's just so healing to feel those things. Again, I don't know, particularly not in the living situation that I was in Ireland, would I be able to experience that. And even beyond those two immediate relationships, so many people around me here. Like, I have my friends that show up and will help me out in my photo shoots. I have a friend that took me out to lunch last week because I told her I was going through a hard time. She was like, get your things, we're going for lunch. I have my surf instructor who, when my bike broke down after the surf competition at the beach last month, he just sent his kids to collect me in the car because it was raining. And again, I feel like for me, all of these like values, like when it comes to specifically community, and just like, again, that kind of villager mindset of I got you, you got me, but like we're never going to remind each other that we owe each other kind of thing. I don't know would I be able to get that in Ireland in the capacity that I have it here. And I feel so in love with my life at the same time as like fucking hating it, you know. So different to the kind of like depression I was in when I was in Ireland. Like, it kind of just felt like there was no end to the struggle. Like, living in Ireland, it just kind of felt like, okay, like plod along, plod along, plod along. Here it's like, I know I have so much hope for where I'm going, and this is just the price I'm paying to get there. I've already been so lucky. Like, even this house, like usually in Bali you have to pay a year up front. We got so lucky. Low-key, I think it was because my boyfriend is Indonesian. We don't have the full year up front. Like, is there any way we can pay in 3-month installments? Allowed us to do that, so that felt really lucky. Like, I have my beautiful little puppy that I rescued from the street. I even feel so supported by my dog, and even that I'm just so grateful for. So grateful to be learning a new language. Even for me, just like every time I get a little bit better. For me, I don't know if it's because I have ADHD and like our brain loves rewards and the dopamine that comes from rewards, but like the reward of just someone telling me I'm doing a good job at the language like feels so beautiful to me. Then of course I feel there's the silly little thing. Will I go back to Ireland and live without a bum gun? I don't think so. Could I live without tulloch onion or the multiple different oils that you can buy for literally anything that's wrong with you? I don't think I could. To kind of wrap it up, I decided to call this video like cigarettes and spirituality. I'm smoking a cigarette at the start, and that's like literally not me trying to be some Tumblr ass bitch. Truly show the yin and the yang of, first of all, emigrating and being an immigrant and how it's such a struggle, but it's also one of the most beautiful journeys that you will go on in your life, of self-discovery, of like love, of passion, of drive. But it's also like one of the hardest things you'll do in your life. And I did not smoke before I came to Indonesia, and unfortunately I smoke now. I'm gonna make it my mission when I get back from Barcelona to quit, just giving myself time to be a little bit less stressed, which it's not an excuse, but this is my coping mechanism right now, and nobody's gonna judge me for it, not even me. Not only of the immigrant struggle, but also of this island, you know, like smoking in Indonesia is so ingrained in the culture. I think even for me, maybe that's something that the Ubudi and hippie girlies maybe don't speak about. It's like, everyone's fucking smoking. As much as there's so many polar opposites, I do feel like there is a sense of we're all kind of in this together here. Cigarettes, spirituality, peace, love, rock and roll. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in my next one.